3, 2, 1, let's go! Hi everybody and welcome to another exciting edition of Boring JavaScript. I'm your host, the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and today we're going to be talking about the WeakSet object. Now the WeakSet object works exactly like the set object, so if you caught our video from a number of months ago, a lot of this is going to be old hat to you. But there are a few major differences between WeakSet and set that I will cover within this video. Are you ready? Let's get started. So what is a WeakSet? A WeakSet is a collection of objects. Now, if you caught our video on sets a number of months ago, you would realize that a set is a collection of anything. A collection of numbers, a collection of strings, a collection of objects, a collection of a whole bunch of different those things all mashed together. But a WeakSet only does objects, and that will become very important a little bit later on in the video, as I will explain to you. Now, what they share in common is that, first of all, you can only have a unique values within your sets, your WeakSet in this particular case. So if you include an object within your WeakSet, you cannot include that object again. Now they do share three important methods, and that's with add, has, and delete, which will allow you to add different objects to your collection, allow you to query whether that collection contains that object, and also to delete that object from the collection. So how do you create one? Real simple, just do the new command. Now create yourself a new empty WeakSet. To be able to add an object to the WeakSet, you use the add method. And I have in this case here adding a cat. I have created three different objects, cat, dog, and lizard. And here I'm just adding my cat. And that's it. Here I'm adding my dog. One value at a time, just add that sucker on in. Now to be able to query whether an object is contained or not within the WeakSet, you use the has method. Real simple. And it will return a Boolean true or return a Boolean false. Boolean true or Boolean false if that particular object is inside of the WeakSet. So I've done the has for the cat, the has for the dog, and the has for the lizard. Now, if I want to remove an object from a WeakSet, I use the delete method. And this will delete a single object from the WeakSet. So in this case, with all of this code I have here, what I should expect to happen with all these console.logs is once I run this program here, it's going to first of all say, do I have a cat in the house? And it should return yes, because I have added my cat. I've added the cat to the house there in line 7. Is there a dog in my house? That should also return a yes, because I have added the dog in line 8. Is there a lizard in my house? That should return no, because I haven't added the lizard yet. Then I'm going to delete the dog on line 15. And I'm going to say the dog was adopted, not killed or anything like that, just adopted. And now if I ask if the dog is in the house, that should return false. So what we should have here is yes, yes, no, and then no once the dog has been deleted. Let's take a look at it, see what happens. Let's go to node and type in node get. Yep, sure enough, is there a cat in the house? There sure is. There's a dog in the house? Sure is that too. Is there a lizard in the house? Well, of course not. The dog was adopted, so now is there a dog in the house? No, there is not. And that's really all there is to WeakSets. You can add your objects, you can query whether they are there, or you can delete the objects. So let's get down to the nitty-gritties of what a WeakSet is good for. And we'll get to that next. So what's good as a WeakSet? Well, one great thing you can use a WeakSet for is to limit the functionality of a method to only the instances of the class in which that method is contained. Let me show you what I mean. I have a very, very simple class here called animal, which has one public property called sound and one public method called speak, in which it prints out the value of the property, in this case, moo. And the normal way you would work with this is to be able to create a new instance of the class and then issue the method. But take a look at line 14 here. Line 14 basically says that I can also call the speak method of the animal class outside of an instance merely by calling the call method of the speak method of the animal class. And call is available to every single method that is inside the class. The argument that you can pass to call, the first argument actually, is the this argument. So instead of having this as my animal in this case, I'm having this as rock, which is on line 13. So I am now calling the speak method on the animal class and passing to it as the this argument of rock. So let's see what happens when I do that. Let's go over to Node, and let's type in Node class. The first one that says the animal says moo, which is correct. It's because we had created a class from animal and we set it to speak. But the second one comes up undefined because rock, which is the this to the speak method. Let me go back at my code here. Rock, which is the this to the speak method, does not have a sound a property within it. So of course it came up to be, back over here, undefined. So that really is, it's not really a hole in JavaScript, but it's a way you can get around some doing strange things of JavaScript. But by using WeakSets, you can actually tell Speak to, hey, only operate on instances that are animal instances. If for some reason, like in line 14 here, we call it outside of an instance, kill it. Don't do it. So let's pull up that code. And what we'll do is we'll just copy and paste the code up top there and show you what that does. Let's that. Oops, I just messed that up. Let's try that again. Da-da-da, da-da-da. One more time. There we go. Okay, so here's our new code. Same class, but now I've got set myself up a WeakSet here. And when I construct the animal, I am passing this, which this is an object, into the WeakSet by using the add. So when I get to speak, I use the has method within the WeakSet to be able to say, hey, has this class instance been created? Because I do add this class instance into all animals. If it has not been created, that means we're trying to call speak outside of an instance of animal. And so I am going to throw an error message saying you can only get an official animal to speak, not a fake animal. Otherwise, I'm just going to say the animal says moo. Same thing here, same thing here. So this should work out fine. It should say the animal says moo. But the second one here should throw a type error saying you can only get an official animal to speak. Let's flip over to Node and take a quick look at that. Let's clear the screen off and go to Node class. And boom! Yep, that's exactly what happened. The animal says moo, and then it said, you can only get an official animal to speak. So that's one of the good cases of using a WeakSet, is to be able to get better control of your classes or the methods within your classes so that people from outside or functions from outside can't interfere or do things that you are not intending to do within the class. Just an extra value of protection. Now, the big difference between WeakSet and set we'll cover in the next video, and that is why it's called a WeakSet. Like I said, that's next. So what exactly is a WeakSet and why is it called a WeakSet? Well, it's called a WeakSet because it weakly holds on to the objects within the set. Aha, see, that's why it's called a WeakSet, because it weakly holds. Well, okay. All right, here's the thing. It all has to deal with garbage collection. Now, if you recall from our set discussion from a number of months ago, or the very brief one I did at the very beginning of this video, you can store pretty much anything inside of a set. Strings, numbers, objects, whatever. But when you store an object inside that set, you are responsible for getting rid of that object in the set. So we have an object, we store it inside the set, everybody's happy, but then your application deletes this object. Well, there's still a reference to that object within the set here. You can no longer access that object, but there's still a reference within the set. So if you had 10 objects in your application, you put all 10 of them in your set, you delete those 10, in memory, those 10 are still inside the set. What's the result? Memory leak. And that is the really important difference between WeakSet and set, is that within WeakSet, those objects, if they've been deleted in your application, will automatically get deleted out of the WeakSets too. So again, let's take that example here. Now I have a WeakSet and I've got my 10 objects. I throw all 10 objects into the WeakSet. I delete all 10 of these objects. Well, at one point in time, JavaScript is going to go through its garbage collection and say, oh, okay, all of those objects have been deleted. They're also inside this WeakSet. Well, let's just get rid of them there too. And so it automatically cleans itself up. So the difference is with the set, you're responsible for cleaning everything up. If you don't, memory leak. WeakSet, garbage collection will take care of everything for you. So let me show you an example of exactly how that works. That was one of the things when I did my weak map a number of weeks ago. I got feedback saying, hey, you didn't show how the memory really is affected. So now I'm going to show you how the memory is affected. We'll do that inside of a browser. So here's my program. Excuse me. And we're just going to copy this over to a browser. So let's now flip over to a browser. and I'm using Chrome's debugging tools here. I'm going to first of all create a snippet of code, and I pop that inside the snippet. We'll save that. And I'll run this particular snippet each time. And basically this is what's going to happen. We're going to start with just a set. And we're going to create a new set. We've got 2 objects, and we're going to add those 2 objects there, and we'll do a console.log. And it will show 2 entries within the set. Then we're going to nullify Mr. Tinkles. Wait 10 seconds before we do another console.log on the cats. And the reason we're waiting for 10 seconds there is I can click on the Performance tab within the debugger tools, and I can click on this little trash can kind of in the middle of the screen there that does a garbage collection automatically. So I can force JavaScript to do a garbage collection. So what will happen then if we have a set is that we should expect this console.log to say to have 2 entries in it. We should also expect at the end of 10 seconds it to still have 2 entries. Even though we've nullified Mr. Tinkles, it should still have 2 entries in it. Why? Because garbage collection does not touch any references within the set. So let's run this and see what happens. And to run it, I do a right click on this where it says script snippet number 2. I'm going to do a right click, which you can't see the pull down menu, and I'm going to click on run. Up there it starts. Let's click on performance and click on collect garbage. I've done that. Let's go over to the console. So you can see there's 2 entries here. And then after 10 seconds, you see there's 2 entries at the beginning. There's still 2 entries inside the set. So even though Mr. Tinkles has been nullified, there's still a reference to Mr. Tinkles within the set. We have a memory leak. And this is the problem that WeakSets will solve. So let's go back to our source. And now let's change line 1 from a set to a WeakSet. Now we have a WeakSet there. So the console.log cats will still say 2 entries inside there. We'll nullify Mr. Tinkles. Then we'll wait 10 seconds, and within that 10 seconds, I will go ahead and clear out the memory, or I'm sorry, do the garbage collection. And then it should do a console.log cats, but there should only be 1 entry because Mr. Tinkles was nullified. So let's clear out the console. We've got it set for WeakSet. We've got it saved, so let's run it. Again, I'm right-clicking on script segment number 2. You can't see that. We click on run. It did the 2 entries. We click on performance. Click on collect garbage. Let's go to console. So you can see there's 2 entries there for the first WeakSet. And then there's 1 entry for the last one. So you can see here, 2 entries right there, 1 entry right there. So this proves that what happens in the JavaScript with a WeakSet is that if you delete that object, it will also take it out of the WeakSet for you. And that's the giant difference between WeakSet and set. And that's all there is to the WeakSet object. I hope you enjoyed our video. Hope it didn't bore you to death. Please view all of our videos at www.boringjavascript.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or see everything we got at www.thevirtuoid.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you later.